What's up, folks? Welcome back from the All-Star break. I am Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy. Here with a look at the 13-game main slate on Friday, July 22nd for MLB DFS on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. Got quite a few high upside pitchers available on this slate, but our favorite in the Occupy model is Corbin Burnes. We like to start by looking at which starting pitchers are our favorite on a slate, and tonight, Burnes has the highest Occupy Fantasy Index, our custom OF Index metric that ranks every pitcher on every single slate. He's number one by a wide margin, 20.4 OF Index, almost 4 points higher than the next closest starting pitcher. Corbin Burnes is the biggest favorite on this slate, minus 295 moneyline favorite. Milwaukee against the Rockies tonight. Projects for 1.26 strikeouts per inning. Has really strong batted ball data in the last 2 weeks of his outings across Major League Baseball. Now, the one spot for concern here with Burnes would be the Rockies are actually producing fantasy points at an above average rate over the last 30 days, and they have become one of the more difficult offenses to strike out over the last month as well. We take a look at strikeouts against right-handed pitchers, since there's quite a few of them that I want to talk about here in a row. The Colorado Rockies are all the way down here. They're 22nd in Major League Baseball in strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers in the 2022 season. This is Fangraphs.com, as always, for some of these splits. There are a couple teams that rank in the top 3 in strikeout rate against starting pitchers that we want to look at tonight. Number 1, the Angels. We've been hammering this home for about a month now. They have the highest strikeout rate in all of baseball, but especially against right-handed pitching. The Atlanta Braves have the 3rd highest strikeout rate in Major League Baseball against right-handed pitching, which is why our model is really high on both Shohei Ohtani and Charlie Morton in the same matchup tonight. Number 3, number 4 in the Occupy model. OF indices above 16. Strong rankings as a result there. Morton is the favored side here. Both of these guys projecting for right around a strikeout and a half per inning. Gotta like the high upside of the strikeout upside there, especially on DraftKings, where those points start to rack up fairly quickly if the strikeouts start piling up. The StatCast data for both these guys, slightly concerning, but hopefully the strikeout upside mitigates that tonight. We've seen people don't like rostering starting pitchers in the same game against each other, so Ohtani and Morton as a high-risk pairing definitely seem to make sense here this Friday. Fairly cheap compared to the high-end guys. Skipped over Max Scherzer, who is the other true high-end ace available on this slate. Never going to argue with anyone that feels like they want to play Max Scherzer. The downside risk tonight is with his batted ball data over the last couple of weeks of his outings. He's actually been giving up some contact that's fairly concerning. So there certainly is potential for San Diego to punish him tonight. So I would consider Scherzer more high risk than Burnes or these other two guys below him for starting pitcher on this slate. Now, personally, I don't think I'm going to be going outside this top 4, but there is one other spot that does make sense to me as a salary play on DraftKings as a starting pitcher too. It's Spencer Howard. Spencer Howard, 5,100 here on DraftKings, facing Oakland. Oakland is the lowest ranked offense in our model tonight, so we don't mind targeting them. Be careful with Spencer Howard. He has a 7 ERA on the season. He's just not very good. That's the nicest thing I can say about this matchup for Spencer Howard. So it could be a very risky DFS play, but a salary saver nonetheless, and you may need to have to pay up for some of the highest upside offenses that we're interested in this evening. Now, which offenses do we want to stack? We tend to look at the worst ranked pitchers as a starting point in our model. Antonio Senzatel is back from injured list tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers, so we probably are going to like Brewer stacks quite a bit this evening. No batted ball data because he's been on IL for a little bit. Tyler Wells against the Yankees. Zach Thompson for the Pirates, pitching against the Marlins. Marco Gonzalez, left-handed starting pitcher for the Mariners against the Astros. These are some guys that I would expect that at least in some way our model is interested in targeting with bats tonight. From a StatCast data perspective, does look like concerning batted ball distance is being given up by Jameson Taillon of the New York Yankees. So if you're an Orioles backer, that's a very good sign for you and could translate into some Orioles fantasy points on this slate. Other concerning batted ball data looks like we have Kyle Gibson of the Philadelphia Phillies against the Cubs, so that is something to be aware of. Let's see what our Stacks dashboard thinks are the best spots on the slate. The Toronto Blue Jays facing Nathan Eovaldi at Fenway Park tonight, Boston Red Sox. Number 1 by OF Index, number 2 by isolated slugging, number 2 by weighted on base average, and a reasonably high implied team total, although not the highest one on this slate, just 8th. So I suspect that their projected ownership will be a little bit lower than some of the other high team total stacks. So that makes Toronto very interesting tonight. Using our lineup builder at OccupyFantasy.com, I got a ton of Toronto Blue Jays lineups. I also got a ton of Arizona Diamondbacks lineups. The Diamondbacks with the highest weighted on base average on this slate. Weighted on base average, a very good indicator of potential floor in fantasy baseball contests on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. So I'm interested in trying to get Arizona and Toronto in my lineups tonight. In fact, if you're playing low-risk contests, those are probably some spots that you should be considering here fairly heavily. Arizona third by OF index, fourth by projected isolated slugging, fourth by implied team total. Arizona probably going to be a little more popular than Toronto as a result in their matchup tonight with Patrick Corbin of the Washington Nationals. The San Francisco Giants, number 2 by OF index, have the highest power upside on this slate. They have a low weighted on base average ranking and a really low implied team total. They're facing Tyler Anderson of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Going to our hitter model, let's dive into these teams individually. I do think that the Blue Jays against Nathan Eovaldi might be a little bit better than people are expecting. Eovaldi, a right-handed pitcher, allowing an elite isolated slugging to hitters from both sides of the plate, and obviously this Toronto lineup is littered with high upside bats, 1 through 9 in the order almost every single night. You see we have 8 of the 9 hitters with an OF index of over 4.5. We feel anything above a 4 is playable. Anything above a 5 is really good. So just a very balanced lineup tonight is what we're expecting from the Blue Jays. Their implied team total in betting markets is up by almost half a run right now. So that's a good sign for their upside. 6 of the 9 Blue Jays tonight with elite isolated slugging and weighted on base average projections for us. 4th furthest batted ball exit velocity and 23rd furthest batted ball distance in all of baseball the last 2 weeks of play for Matt Chapman at third base. So Matt Chapman may be a very good high-risk play from the Blue Jays tonight in DFS contests. Arizona against Patrick Corbin. Corbin, very poor splits, particularly against right-handed hitters. So I'd focus on some of these right-handed hitting Arizona Diamondback hitters against him here. Carson Kelly, leadoff catcher, number 1 hitter in the Diamondbacks projected lineup for us. Should be one of the better catcher plays on this slate. Batted ball distance looks like number 2 in the stack. Jordan Luplow with the best profile overall for Arizona. San Francisco, the other team I said I wanted to look at a little bit further. They are facing Tyler Anderson, who has a poor isolated slugging against hitters from both sides of the plate, but curiously a worse weighted on base average allowed to lefties, even though he's a lefty himself. So some left-handed San Francisco Giants, guys like Mike Yastrzemski, might be a little more interesting than OF Index actually is telling us tonight. Over on DraftKings, I've got Corbin Burnes in here. I'm going to trust our model's number 1 ranking. Talked about him off the top as my favorite pitcher on the slate. I like Arizona. The salary flexibility is pretty key here as well. A lot of cheap hitters. A lot of room left to finish up my lineup. $58.50 per player. Go over to starting pitcher. I could play Scherzer. There's enough salary here to do that. I still have enough salary to get a good secondary stack in here. I'm probably going to go with one of these strikeout upside starting pitchers. We lean towards Ohtani against the Braves tonight. $4,800 per player remaining. I did mention one of those strategies would be playing both sides of that game because of the high strikeout upside. So if you did that and you put Morton in here with Ohtani, you'd have over $5,200 per player remaining. Certainly very viable. Lots of different directions you can go on the slate. Should be a fun one with all the different options available on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, same idea here. Corbin Burnes, 4 high upside Arizona Diamondbacks bats. Plenty of room for another stack in here to finish off your lineup. Could certainly save some salary too by not playing Burnes and playing Ohtani for $300 less. Charlie Morton for $9,800 would certainly boost the amount of salary you have remaining for your secondary stack as well. Keep an eye out for the daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com. That'll be fully updated by about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our final picks on this slate. If you want to talk about MLB DFS up until then, you can consider joining our Discord. There's a link to do so below the description of every video that we post on this channel. We'll be in there talking about MLB DFS up until lock almost every single night. You're going to want to be in there after July 31st because we end our daily plug. So the Discord will be the primary way that we talk about MLB DFS with our subscribers. We'd love to see you in there. Good luck tonight, and we'll be back on Monday for more videos about MLB DFS.